There's a time for grand planning and strategy, but there's a time to focus on the detail. There's a time to be focused on what are we doing now.
With current technology, people have access to a wealth of information very easily and quickly. Our challenge is not lack of information, but rather our ability to find relevant information that we can use. Paul Bridle is an information contextualizer who researches information and presents it in a format that you can make use of. He has a unique ability to provide information in an accessible format.
And it's about challenging. So it's really diametrically opposite. Go back to the analogy of the retail shop. You know, as a leader, I'm looking at and saying, why are we still using this shop? Why aren't we moving uptown? Why do we still lay the shop out like this? Why do we still have the stock in these particular places? Why do we use those signs? One is very much about conforming, and the other one's very much about questioning and challenging. We can be confusing to the people who work for us, if you like, because one minute you're walking in saying you should be conforming with this, and the next minute you're walking in going, what if we did this differently? And of course your staff are going, what's wrong with you? You know. So we need to appreciate that people don't necessarily understand which role we're in sometimes.
To be partners with us and help us, deliver a commonly understood business model.
And I think that I hope everybody really understood what you said, because if I'm understanding it correctly, what you're saying is it's genuine partnership. Come in at a level, challenge us with ideas, work with us at that level, not as a subservient. And that in itself is a change from the past.
It is indeed.
To a lot of people is seen as somebody who's getting in the way. And we're now living in the world of relationships. How do you balance the need for good procurement with having that relationship with people that was being talked about earlier on?
Today we want to be more and more efficient, more and more reactive.
If you think the organisation's not going to run without you there, then you've got a in my view, false impression, or you've got the wrong people around.
So, there's so much, it has to do with so much of the way we do business. I mean, I think initially our first thing was we need to create an environment that's a happy working environment for people, and we need to maintain that. And it's very, very important. This is a high pressure, high speed, it's very involved, there's a lot going on in a restaurant.
Yeah, but even just the way you grow a business, what we did as a $3 million business changed as a $10 million business. It had to change again as a $20 million business and a $50 million business. And I think one of the things that we've done well as a business, and I think I've led well inside this business over its growth years for the last 20 years or so, there's been a willingness and an ability to pick up all the pieces and throw them in the air from time to time and let them land again. And if the people around the business believe in themselves because I believe in them, then they're not nervous about where it lands.
Took on a $30 million contract and won it. And he will explain to you the thinking and the impact that had on his business at that time. And then in the second clip I will show you is where he talks about how creative he's been and how rethinking his business has become so important. His name is Craig Lovett, and like I said, he's based in Australia. He's a very down-to-earth man. Let's listen to this first clip and notice the thinking that he's got that drives him and his approach to the way he does business. Let's hear what he has to say.
Even just the way you grow a business. What we did as a $3 million business changed as a $10 million business. They had to change.
In this first segment, I'm asking Cesco about where he learned his philosophy about dealing with people. And he tells me the story about him and his brother going to Kuwait to set up a new business by an investor. And he talks about his experiences over there and what he did with his restaurant. So let's just listen to his story and what he learned and pick out from this. What do you hear is the core principles of getting the best out of people? Let's hear what he has to say.
What I looked to do was, I looked and I saw that one couldn't compete on the infrastructure. One couldn't compete in the training, the rigorous training mechanisms that were put in place by the Americans, those things that are so well versed and so well organized. But I looked at it and I thought, but no, how can I get to a route of success, or how can I get a level of application which is higher than anybody else?
TC do to influence their industry. For example, they have a reference manual which is widely circulated and used. There's a tile letter which is like a newsletter which goes out through to the industry, and a trade show which is very well attended. This, along with setting standards both for their company members and for the individuals, are just examples of the type of things that they do which has an impact on their industry. Let's listen to them explain these in more detail.
We really do have to have an overall understanding of the industry and the needs of our associate members as well. So really tying the two together is part of our strategy.
What do you see is the trend? How is it moving? What's going to happen coming out of this recession in the future?
Well, first of all, I think this recession, if we can call it like that, or at least this economic situation, has made everybody rethink their position. And the positive side of it is that we are now beginning to really focus back on the values, on the content, on the real meaningfulness of marketing. So I actually call this, the new era of thoughtful marketing.
From his own international research, he delivers meaningful information through a variety of mediums, including producing real-life case studies, documentaries, interviews with leaders, writing articles and books, speaking and facilitating at conferences and events, and private consultancy and coaching.
I really like working with Paul because Paul really takes the time to understand what it is that we are trying to convey.
That's what I really enjoyed about Paul's sessions. It's just they're practical, they give you live, real events.